I want to get back into radical Islam with Anthony Freda, one of the top graphic illustrators and designers in the country. And I don't know how much of this he can get into it. He said before he can get a little bit into it, but behind the scenes with the top liberal illustrators, the stuff he saw, the stuff he heard concerning myself, Donald Trump, you name it, and things that he told us we then encountered. And it's really, really dirty tricks, folks. Putting racist stuff out, saying we did it, things like that. And we're seeing a lot more of this starting to come out and start happening. So this guy's a lot of courage. I've always told him so he doesn't get blackballed, he should just direct sell his great posters and material, which he does. And you can find all that on his website, anthonyfreda.com. It's amongst the best out there, incredibly prolific. It's just ridiculous how good it all is. In fact, sometime, I know he's already put out coffee table stuff. I'd love to put out InfoWars, backed one maybe sometime. I'm just saying all this on air because it's so amazing. This is the type of stuff you want on your walls and on your coffee table. At your business, you name it, because it's transcendent. It's very, very bipartisan. He didn't know I was me plugging his art here, but I am. Because it speaks to everyone, the humanity in us, and brings us together, which spoken word is hard to do. We're going back to Freda here in a moment. I wanted to mention this. We have Fox News, CNN, MSNBC on in the control room monitoring it. Russia, after a 3-week ceasefire, which the al-Qaeda folks, that's ISIS, broke, they have resumed strikes. And so this is a very, very serious war. The issue is the West started it 5 years ago. Hillary started it 5 years ago. John Kerry started it 5 years ago. And that's why they're the ones that basically take the blame for it. They keep saying Assad not stepping down is what did it. He's ready to step down when al-Qaeda and ISIS pull out, and then they'll have elections. He wants to leave. He grew up in England. He doesn't want to be in this. But al-Qaeda is going to force the Sunnis that aren't part of their group, the Shiites that aren't part of it, the Alawites, the Christians that are left, to convert the most radical forms of Islam. They make people eat dead bodies. They eat hearts. They just do. They throw people off bridges. They throw gays off buildings. They murder Catholic priests. Why does anyone put up with this? And this is who our government's pushing, and now saying Trump's going to cause World War III after defense condition nuclear threat reduced to safest and lowest level following Trump victory. Trump and Putin, we will destroy ISIS. If Trump brings his promises alive, it will radically change the situation. You can read this on Infowars.com, the full transcript of their conversation. Trump put out a transcript. The Russians put out a transcript. It's the same conversation. Trump is very, very sophisticated, already doing that, so the media can't spin what he said or did. He just said, you know, we're with the Russian people. We're with, you know, Russia. We look forward to a good relationship, bilateral ties, taking out radical Islam together, constructive cooperation. Russia doesn't control Hollywood like China does now. It's been announced. I told you first 5 years ago. I mean, I knew every movie, China's the hero. I mean, every movie I go see that's an action-adventure or a sci-fi movie. Just every one. I mean, I knew when I went to see Arrival, it'd be the Chinese saved us. Of course they did. Every movie. Just every movie. They have Final Cut now on all the major films. They're buying up the final 6 production houses. This is the communist Chinese, folks, the biggest murderers in history. So the point is, Russia has 2.5 bases. They have 2 main bases, a little sub-base. We have thousands. They're not invading anybody. They're not. It's the West under Cheney in 2008 and now under Obama that is starting a war with Russia. And Russia needs to be stabilized. I don't want war with China either. I want to see China free, but China has been given all the rare earth minerals, all the major ports, the Panama Canal. They're taking over, okay, because the globalists made a deal with them. The globalists are allied against all sovereign nations with China against the world. That includes India. It includes everybody, okay? So you need to understand that Hollywood is completely sold out to it. The Chinese government brags about it, how pathetic we are. It's sick. People say, how did you know this first? 5 years ago, they started telling what movies could come out, like Red Dawn 2. They had to re-edit it and take China out of it. I mean, and I talked to people in Hollywood. They said, listen, most of our stuff's financed by China now, and we're really going bankrupt. They're just funneling tens of billions, and it's going to be hundreds of billions next year. I mean, I've sat there with the top lawyers in Hollywood, okay, because at least want me to do projects with them. It's all a total waste of time. But I'd be out there every month dealing with these people, and it's just a joke. And really what it was, dangling movie roles in front of me if I just shut up. What's your stupid movies? In fact, I've licensed, I'm not bragging, this show to a bunch of big movies. Just, you want to use a clip of the show, go ahead. People are like, you're in this movie, you're in that movie. I don't even go watch them. The point is that we're winning the culture war as true libertarian patriots. The globalists, though, are coming in with both feet on top of us. I want to talk to Anthony Freda how they'll try to shut that down, or if he thinks they will, in a moment. But first, all that good news is happening. We have a lost leader that's about to sell out this week. In fact, some sizes will sell it any day now. It's the red for voting day. Trump is my president. On the back, it says Legalize Freedom, Infowars.com. It's $9.95, shipping included, so that shirt is at cost, all right? In fact, we lose money on a 4XL. Check it out, get it, and exercise your free speech. It's very simple. Trump is my president. On the back, Legalize Freedom, Infowars.com. And I wear this shirt out in public to exercise my free will over people that want to get in my face and refuse me service and act weird or blow up at me so I can talk to them and try to deprogram them. So it's a historic shirt. If you want it, InfoWarsStore.com. It does not support the broadcast because we basically lose money on it, but be sure and get those. We have the new BioPCA that has all the known organic compounds that are healthy and natural to grow your nails, have healthier hair, you name it, and skin. One of the ingredients we have in it is in the major leading competitors for $44, $55, $60. I mean, I can't believe the ripoffs in hair, nail, and skin. The word is, though, people only buy what's really expensive. They think it must be better. So I'm here telling you, it's $19.95. Some super formulas have really inexpensive, high-quality ingredients, so we can sell it incredibly low. Now, we only make like $5 on this because it's discounted out of the gates. It'll be $29.95 soon. It'll be well worth it. But I want to introduce you to what we came out with, the ultimate hair, nail, and skin formula. That's BioPCA, a great gift to give your wife or girlfriend, but men need it as well. If something's good for your hair and nails and skin, wink, wink, folks. You know, think for yourselves. It's good for everything. It's so important. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, or call toll-free 888-253-3139. 888-253-3139. There's a lot of other specials running as well. I want to thank you all for your support because you make the broadcast possible across the board. I mean, how does Anthony Freda more and more come out and say what he wants to say in the arts, in film, when I criticized Obama years ago, building this facility here in Austin, Texas, that has a lot of Hollywood folks here, they told me, they said, listen, we came and put your lights in. We came and put your green screen in. We can't do work with you anymore. We'll be blackballed by Robert Rodriguez and the Hollywood folks here in town. And so we have to get people in from Dallas to set up our stages and our equipment because that's run by TV/movie people. That's who you get. And you think unions are bad, just try the cult of the fascist liberals. They mean business. And they've told me that, ha, 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 you're blackballed. Well, guess what? Thank God I'm not associated with you. We had 80+ million viewers last week just on our streams of videos on Facebook and YouTube and everywhere else. So we used to get 20 million a week. We thought that was really great. So thank God I'm not with the New York Times, MSNBC, and Robert Rodriguez with his TV empire propped up by the government. So you failed again. You're a joke. I'm sorry. That's just the facts. Now, going back to Anthony Freda, finishing up with Islam and the super orthodox radical form of it via Wahhabism was taking over. When you talk to your leftist friends about this, you told me you have, how do they juxtapose these rallies saying Donald Trump's a homophobe and screaming and yelling that he wants to, you know, kill Mexicans or whatever, while there's women in hijabs or full burqas, basically on leashes there with their husbands, running around, scrabbling around? I mean, how do they juxtapose this, Anthony Freda?
It's a mystery to me. I mean, I'm against all tyranny, and there are tyrannical systems that have been codified into 10 or 11 Muslim countries where, I mean, women are treated like slaves. Homosexuals are murdered, okay? Yeah. And then they say that Donald Trump is a homophobe. I mean, give me a break. What did he ever do to gay people? More importantly, what do you think he's going to do to gay people once he's elected? Nothing. It's ridiculous. It's based on this hysteria. And these are smart people, but they bought into this narrative that he is the epitome of evil, and all the evil in the world is projected onto him. And in some bizarre way, the goodness has been projected onto Hillary, which is it's just at odds with reality. And I try to be objective. I know you do too, and that's what I respect, objectivity. But partisanship is anathema to objectivity. So what happens is people project all the ills of the world and all their own failures and fears onto their enemy, and they discard any evidence to the contrary. So this is the element of tribalism, which is still this intractable problem that I don't know how we overcome it as a species. I think it's our Achilles' heel as a species, because I think at one point it was it was a critical survival instinct, but now it's become an impediment and maybe an existential threat to our civilization and our culture and any advancement or hope for enlightenment as a species. So we have to overcome that, but it's built into our DNA. We're good, they're bad. So the people who hate Trump have been just brutally and viciously assaulted with a demonization campaign. And he hates Muslims, he hates gays, he hates trans, he hates everybody, right? Give me the guy. This is the same guy I tried to tell my mother, who I love. This is the same guy, who was a Democrat in New York, same guy from, The Apprentice, the same guy. All of a sudden in 2 years, he became like Hitler. How did that happen? It didn't happen.
Well, their new thing is to take the fake stuff they claimed he stood for, and now that he's not doing that, they're claiming he's flip-flopping and trying to take out his base. That's the latest attack. But then when you go look at what he actually said, this is exactly what he always said. We're going to get rid of the mandate. We're going to get rid of making you go out and get this, but we're going to make the corporations that are making all this money cover pre-existing conditions, and sure, it's a good idea for people 26 years old who are in college or whatever to be able to stay on their parents' insurance. So because he is for a couple of good parts, they're now saying he's lying and isn't going to actually get rid of Obamacare. I mean, they're just so deceptive.
Well, yeah, and that's what's surprising. That's the one thing that surprised me is that their attack plan on Donald Trump backfired. He's going to be president, all right? It didn't work, but they're doubling down on it. So that's kind of shocking to me.
That's my next question. I mean, the New York Times, the Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, they're not stopping. They're getting worse than ever. And so when a black crowd of racist thugs beat up a white guy because he's a Trump supporter, and a congressman brings it up, we'll play it in a minute, they say, oh, that wasn't racial. Well, of course it's racial. Imagine if a bunch of white people beat up a Democrat supporter that was black. They'd say it was racial. The media acts like everybody isn't on the internet and doesn't know CNN's covering that up. They don't, I don't get why they're so arrogant. If I was doing as bad as they were, if I had an audience, an average size of 100,000, I would realize what I'm saying has been rejected. Now, I say what I believe and what's common sense, so obviously that's why it's popular.
Yeah.
And I don't tailor my message, but they claim they want ratings. No. They're only further digging their hole, burning themselves up in self-immolation. So here's my question. Well, how far does it go? Where do they end up? Because unless they shut us down, they have no future. I mean, because they can't operate in this pure deception mode while there's other people there to call them out on it. But here's the deal. They're already so hated, except by small pools of idiots that buy into their lies, that run around, acting like idiots, that even if they took us off the air, the damage is already done. Nationalism against globalism is rising, Anthony.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to see where this is going to go out because how it's going to wind up because, yes, at one point they have failed. They're, like I say, Donald Trump's going to be elected, even though there's this massive concerted campaign to dehumanize him and destroy him. It failed, but half the country still thinks he's Hitler, right? So it was effective in that sense. And they still, listen, I want the mainstream media to die. They've just failed us in every sense. They lied us into the Iraq war. They've lied us into the Libyan war. They have so much blood on their hands. And what's disgraceful to me is that they have the temerity to attack you. They have blood on their hands. They are guilty of crimes against humanity.
Oh, yeah, that's the biggest thing they hated about Trump. They kept saying, even in the debates, first debate, no, you were not against the Iraq war. We produced 4 clips before the war of him saying, I don't think it's a good idea. Bush shouldn't do it. They're probably not the folks that attacked us. And then several clips while it was first happening, Trump was being criticized on CNN. And we played the clips for me. And then they just say, no, you were for the war because they all know they were for it bipartisanly. They're discredited in one of his strongest suits. They don't want to give it to him.
That's right. And even more than that, it's so hypocritical because this is the same media that lied to the world about the weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda, even though UN weapons inspector said it was untrue. And Hillary promoted this war, this is my biggest beef with Her Highness Hillary, that she promoted the Iraq war. Every single lie, she aggressively cheerleaded.
They were worse than Bush. They intensified, even before Bush got in, the draconian sanctions that killed 500,000 kids, and their Secretary of State bragged about it on 60 Minutes and on NBC. I mean, again, next level evil. Speaking of the race baiting, here's a congressman. He's on the air yesterday, Jack Kingston, with Tapper, so arrogant, and they're showing footage of a black racist beating up a white Trump supporter, and then they say, why would you bring up race? When clearly it's a racial political attack, when the whole discussion that they're on the show for 10 minutes before is about how Trump supporters are attacking Hispanics and blacks. They have no footage of it. Here's real footage. And their response is to say that he's being racist. Total inversion of reality. Here it is.
Congressman Kingston, I know you want to talk about this as well.
Well, I just wanted to remind everybody that the only headquarters that was attacked during the campaign was a Republican headquarters in North Carolina. The only people who've been arrested, to my knowledge, so 71 protesters in Portland, Oregon. We know in Chicago, for example, that a white Trump voter was beat up by African-American men. And we also know...
Why does it matter the race of the people that beat him up?
Because that's what the topic is here. To quote, xenophobia, homophobia, racist, and sexist. That's what we talked about in the last hour.
All you had to do was say a Trump voter was beaten up. I don't know why you mentioned the race.
Because I didn't bring it up. You guys brought it up.
This incident in Chicago?
And yes. And let me say
that's enough. That's enough. Again, Anthony Freda, AnthonyFreda.com. This is just illustrative how they won't admit that they're the ones pushing race war, and then they just make it up that Trump supporters are doing all this stuff, but they don't understand the internet is there 100 times bigger exposing them.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's laughable. The people obsess on race 24 hours a day say, how dare you bring up race, It's like, that's all you ever talk about. let's get beyond this race. Let's not focus on race. Let's focus on policy. Let's focus on reality. Let's focus on what is the future of our country, and how can this new presidency change the course of the failed policy.
Well, that's right. Let's talk about how Trump wins then. What does he really do? If he cuts taxes for poor people, it's a win. If he doesn't have war with Russia, it's a win. I mean, if he gets rid of the TPP, it's a win. All that's already happening. So Trump is already delivering like no president I've ever seen. If we support him early on, he'll get a lot of good stuff done. Stay with us. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You going to sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you going to be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action. I want to get back into radical Islam with Anthony Freda, one of the top graphic illustrators and designers in the country. And I don't know how much of this he can get into it. He said before he can get a little bit into it, but behind the scenes with the top liberal illustrators, the stuff he saw, the stuff he heard concerning myself, Donald Trump, you name it, and things that he told us we then encountered. And it's really, really dirty tricks, folks. Putting racist stuff out, saying we did it, things like that. And we're seeing a lot more of this starting to come out and start happening. So this guy's a lot of courage. I've always told him so he doesn't get blackballed, he should just direct sell his great posters and material, which he does. And you can find all that on his website, anthonyfreda.com. It's amongst the best out there, incredibly prolific. It's just ridiculous how good it all is. In fact, sometime, I know he's already put out coffee table stuff. I'd love to put out Infowars, backed one maybe sometime. I'm just saying all this on air because it's so amazing. This is the type of stuff you want on your walls and on your coffee table. At your business, you name it, because it's transcendent. It's very, very bipartisan. He didn't know it was me plugging his art here, but I am. Because it speaks to everyone, the humanity in us, and brings us together, which spoken word is hard to do. We're going back to Freda here in a moment. I wanted to mention this. We have Fox News, CNN, MSNBC on in the control room monitoring it. Russia, after a 3-week ceasefire, which the al-Qaeda folks, that's ISIS, broke, they have resumed strikes. And so this is a very, very serious war. The issue is the West started it 5 years ago. Hillary started it 5 years ago. John Kerry started it 5 years ago. And that's why they're the ones that basically take the blame for it. They keep saying Assad not stepping down is what did it. He's ready to step down when al-Qaeda and ISIS pull out, and then they'll have elections. He wants to leave. He grew up in England. He doesn't want to be in this. But al-Qaeda is going to force the Sunnis that aren't part of their group, the Shiites that aren't part of it, the Alawites, the Christians that are left, to convert the most radical forms of Islam. They make people eat dead bodies. They eat hearts. They just do. They throw people off bridges. They throw gays off buildings. They murder Catholic priests. Why does anyone put up with this? And this is who our government's pushing. And now saying Trump's going to cause World War III after defense condition, nuclear threat reduced to safest and lowest level following Trump victory. Trump and Putin, we will destroy ISIS. If Trump brings his promises to life, it will radically change the situation. You can read this on Infowars.com.